Do you know that 2020 is no longer a year, but an adjective? It's such a start of a new millennium, but a way of life. I mean, let's think about it. We start the year with the fear of another world war, natural disasters occurs later, a few celebrities dead I don't know who their name is, and a global pandemic accompanied with an ongoing civil rights movement. And the centerpiece of it all, a razor-thin election that keeps the entire world on its feet. It seems like we woke up to one bad news over another, is it? As if the world is on its pending doom. And every day, we kept hearing these stories of racial injustices and coronavirus and statistics of how many deaths, how many recovered, how many alive. And we just freaked out. Not only freaking out, but to feel disgusted, dissatisfied, and disbelief. Everything is out of control, and it was just all noises that going through our head. So for prospective artists like me, it's all about a constant need of creation, of making something meaningful out of this mundane and terrifying parts that the world was and still experiencing. That burning desire to create is what makes artists the larger-than-life figure that people often look forward to, especially in times of hopelessness and desperation. Artists are the ones that provide us magic, something surreal that sparks our imagination, pushes our boundary, and gives us some kind of purpose, just to be alive. But it's not up to artists or designers. It's up to every one of you here. Whatever life is offering you, good or bad, take it. Turn it into whatever you want. Make the most out of it, and just channel all the energies of the world out there. Now looking back, I started quarantine, feeling repulsed by the fact that I have to stay at home and feel uncertain like everybody else. School got canceled weeks after weeks. My S level got delayed until another summer, and it just felt like a train wreck. There were times that I thought to myself that, I'd rather get hit by a train than just staying at home for another tormenting week. But part of being an artist, part of being quarantined actually, is to learn how to have fun all by yourself when you're cutting off from lots of resources. As I cannot go out to meet my friends at coffee shop or mingle in the old quarters. So what should I do? What do I have left actually? Well, I looked at home and I found that what I've got is actually a roll of brown sugar paper, bottles of spray paints, acrylic paints, paint brushes, paint rollers, and my trusty MacBook. So what did I do with it? I made art. Like what else do you expect an artist to do, right? But it has to start somewhere. As I looked back and think, my work's actually, it's actually a byproduct of all the cultural influences that I have, and music has been a big part of that. Music, films, books, or simply what's happening in the world has great influence in my art. So when I heard this song called Ray of Light by Madonna came up, I knew what I had to do immediately. Look how gorgeous she is. That's it. I thought to myself, the swirling beats, the madness of production, with all the multi-layered sounds of analog synths and guitar riffs as it came out of an Oasis song, and Madonna's cracking vocal, the sense of wonderment it all exudes from both the lyrics to her delivery and her looks in the video as she came out of Botticelli painting, like some pre-Raphaelite goddess, but with a techno update, of course. I mean, who is that goddess wearing double denim, right? And damn, these things just stuck in my head. As I kept rolling my paint, splattered over the place, spray it on top of everything, as I did all those things, I forgot all my troubles. I forgot that the concept of time and space didn't even exist, and at times the sky was the only limit. It was this rush of energy that excited me, but all these sensory and sonic impulses keep circulating in my head. And I was soaking this wet dream of the marriage between techno sounds and psychedelic image. Here's the outcome. You see, and this painting to me is a reflection of how small we are within the universe. And sometimes it felt like we're actually trying to run away, try to catch up with it. But I do realize that what a privileged position I was in, just to stay at home, to paint, and to consider this time period as more like a readjustment or a pause, rather than something that has greater consequences in a lifetime. Sometimes I felt like some obsolete Hollywood celebrities complaining about how boring quarantine is, when in fact, I live in a big mansion, I fancy myself with dish of steaks on a weekend, I spend the entirety watching the same rom-com for the 10th time. Oh, as if. It's more of the fact that I complain about such menial things in life that others aspires to have. And that I need a reality check. So I read the news. And I was flabbergasted by the fact that face mask price even hiked by 350%. And that suddenly, out of nowhere, this mysterious plague has moved its way like a dark cloud to the other half of the world. And now, nearly 50 million people actually get infected. And across 40 countries. You see, when a force that has no moral or self-control whatsoever, like COVID-19, pushes us into such a diabolical place, an artist has no choice but to react to it. And what do I mean by reacting to it? By reacting to it, it's not just it's not downplaying it or covering it up, but showing it in the most bare and naked form that one could possibly think. The job as an artist now is to not only let you indulge carelessly with these stories, with this artistic vision of a song, or let your imagination flow through flashes of painting. The job as an artist now is to tell you the truth. And the truth that might hurt you, that might break you, and that might make you disappointed by humanity. Because for so long, artists have been there to provide us some kind of excuses just to escape the rather challenging realities of our lives. From ecstatic dance music that we can dance to, while weeping on the dance floor due to a broken heart, to a sonic and visual overload that is an arena concert tour which transforms us into another dimension within 120 minutes. All of these things are there just to help us escape and get away from the insanity of life, while create that illusion of safety that we're so desperate for. And thinking back to my previous artwork, this titled Ray of Light, it's about the fantastical illusion of something that's very, very far away and that you cannot even touch it. But now, with COVID, with everything that's happening in the world, all safety itself is just an illusion. And the job as an artist is officially reversed. We are here to break that illusion, tear it to pieces, to tell people to wake up and deal with whatever crap that's happening around in the world. And speaking of breaking illusions and all these issues that are happening in the world, it kind of reminds me of this installations that I did quite a few months ago, actually. And as you have seen here, there's a tattered trench coat with red spray paint on top. And here, there's a disco ball that's being wrapped around plastic with stains of fake blood on top of it and tad dollar bills. And in a little corner over there, there's a handbag that's decorated with latex gloves and disorienting graffiti. So what comes to your mind when you see these images? What comes to your mind when you see these installations? Is it looking like a war zone to you? Is it looking like the world is its apocalyptic ending? Or is it just a confused and abstract mess of artworks with quasi-political statements? You know, it's not out of the blue. I decide to cut my trench coat, rip it off, spray paint, splatter it all over the place, or spray paint my handbag and decorate with dirty latex gloves. There must be some kind of purpose, is it? Because part of being an artist is to bring new life into this mundane and everyday life objects that you're not even paying attention to. So it was quarantine that I decided to give these items a new life, a makeover, a reinvention, whatsoever you call it, but with a twist that's based on my feelings of the world, a twist that comes from materializations and anger, or the unhealthy way that we are running its course into. And thanks to COVID-19, the world was stripped to the barest of bones and reveals such a disgustingly exploitative way that we are running a course into, that we're functioning. And it's quite scary to think about how the world is often emphasized on such unnecessarily superfluous and innocuous luxuries, and that we live our life with manufactured desires of having these materialistic aspirations, of having, oh, I need a new designer handbag, oh, I need another coat, just because the celebrities wore it. When in fact, none of those things matter, especially when you're at home 24/7, being in your pajamas, having Zoom meeting the whole day. Is having a handbag necessarily? I don't think so. But you have to look at the bigger picture. The bigger picture lies on the fact that, is it worth losing our humanity? Is it worth losing our kindness just to trade off for these vain and superficial desires that were put upon us by the world, not by us? I know this is very ironic, considering this word comes from the mouth of a privileged teenage student like me, but part of being an artist and part of being a human is to evolve. And that I finally realized that the world is actually so much bigger than my own privileged bubble. And that whatever I do, whatever I spend my monies on, that's the way of consequences to others who are less privileged than mine. So, where do we start from here? Where do we go after we seeing all these realizations, all these angers, all this disappointment? Well, it starts here within you. Just have a pause at whatever you're doing and think, what makes you angry? What agitates you? What makes you want to scream out the top of your lungs so loud that everybody can hear? As you may have seen, I was angry by a materialistic world, and I was supposed to succumb to it. And I was supposed to live my life vicariously through it with little or no consequences. But I don't want to continue that toxic cycle, so I decide to use my power and crafts as an artist to create works that can hopefully generate changes and create a small but necessary conversation that we need to have to each other. But that can only happen if you're able to take control of the narrative that the world has given you. And as you know, the world is full of crazy narrative that will force us upon us, that force us to succumb to it. And we have two choices. A, to be enslaved by it, or B, to break away from it. So what you gonna do? Well, you have to make a decision. And whatever happens afterwards, take it as a way that the world is teaching you a lesson. Like COVID-19, it exposes everything in such an overt way, but we cannot help but pay attention to, from wealth inequality to such a flawed healthcare system to simply as human, as very greedy creatures. But it's all there for a reason. And part of making this decision is to know what you want in life. What do you want to come out of this? Do you want to have a lockdown for 3 weeks and feeling miserable? Or you want to stay or you want to work, to live your life, pay your rent as normal? So make those decisions wisely. And don't take any of these opportunities for granted. As an artist, so many people have tried to dictate me and what I should do with my life. They tell me that I'm not good enough as an artist, that my works are too abstract, too vague, too naive for people to understand, and that I'm alienating people with my own political opinion. But do I look like I care? Do I look like I allow them to get in my way, get in my nerve, get in my system? Hell no. So, whatever life is trying to put upon you, whatever resistance that you experience from the world, grab that driver's seat, take the turn, because nobody's gonna show you how. At the end of the day, are you walking the dog, or is the dog actually walking you? Thank you.